And we are live. Good to see you, everybody. Hey, I'm going to play a couple clips for you today. And if you're watching this on replay and not on the live audience, sometimes when you play clips from a local news station, they'll get a little pissy about it, and you end up with a copyright strike. So if this video, this live goes down on the replay, don't worry about it. Don't stress. Just come back in a few minutes. When I find out that it's been dinged, if it gets dinged, it may not. I will edit those portions out, and you just won't get to see those video clips. So don't worry. If something happens, we're on it. So let's get into this. Let's dig into it. First thing we're going to talk about this morning, folks, is our people out in California. If you're out in California, you know that we're thinking about you, especially in the LA area. This has been something. The Palisades fire, the Hearst fire, now the Eaton fire are running through LA. It is scary, folks. It is scary, and we did have even Steve Gutenberg popped up. Uh, he's out there working, doing it, helping move cars off the freeway. This is what he's talking. Let's just play the clip for you, and we'll get into it.
Palisades Drive. If anybody has a car and they leave their car, leave the keys in the car, so that we can move your car, so that these fire trucks can get up Palisades Drive. Yeah. What's happening is people take their keys with them as if they're in a parking lot. This is not a parking lot. Yeah. We really need people to move their cars. So if you leave your car at Palisades Drive, leave the key in there so a guy like me can move your car and get them up there so that these fire trucks can get up there. It's really, really important.
Thank you for talking to us live, sir. What's your name?
My name is Steve Gutenberg.
Yeah, that's Steve Gutenberg, the Steve Gutenberg, as in Police Academy, Steve Gutenberg. So many people out there, just good people doing amazing things, just trying to help people. He's out there moving cars. People, if you don't know what's going on, this is what he's talking about. The fire is just running through the city, and people are stuck in traffic, and they're abandoning their cars. And when they're abandoning their cars, they're doing what most people do. Most new cars, you don't have a key that you put in the ignition. The keys are in your pocket. So they jump out of their cars with their family and belongings and take off. And there are no keys for the car. Nobody can move it. The fire department, nobody can do it, which is leading to situations like this.
Here as a firefighter, because the car owners, they took their keys and they just started running. They left the cars here and the firefighters were trying to clear the pathway, clear the roadway. This is an emergency situation where, they need to get up to the homes. They want to make sure people are not trapped up there. But this line of cars probably goes about 300 feet deep, at least as long as.
So yeah, you get the idea. I mean, you've got the fire department that's deployed bulldozers. They run up Sunset, they run up Palisades, literally just shoving cars out of the way. Because you've got, like I said, you got guys like Steve Gutenberg and hundreds of other people out there that are working to get these cars, as many of them out of the way as possible, so the fire trucks can get to the fires. And I mean, it is something, folks, man. I mean, they're running right up through the cities. Yeah, I don't want to sit here and just show image after image after image, but you get the idea. These fires are actually running through populated areas. It is very scary, and we're starting to hear this morning, sadly, the news of how many are hurt and how many are burned and how many have died, and that information is just now starting to trickle in. So, yeah, it's scary. It is scary. Just keep our California people in mind. Because I mean, this is, well, let's go to the map. Let's go to the map. Let me zoom in here. This is LA, Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles. This is the Palisades fire they were talking about. This is Brentwood, Pacific Palisades. This is the neighborhood of Pacific Palisades. The problem is the prevailing wind is blowing south. You see the National Santa Monica National Recreation Area. This is all park area up here, Topanga Canyon. This is all, pretty much undeveloped area. The fire starts out there, and then you've got a strong southern prevailing wind that is blowing those fires into populated areas. You've got the Palisades fire here. Zoom in, you see where Brentwood is. This is Pacific Palisades, where Steve Gutenberg was at, Beverly Hills. But that's not it, folks. You've got the Hearst fire up here. There's Cagle Canyon. Give you some idea where we're talking about. Silmar is in real trouble, folks. I mean, real trouble. The Hearst fire has just pushed south, and these are not. This isn't like Beverly Hills, and I know a lot of people won't have sympathy when they hear Brentwood's in trouble and Palisades is in trouble, and the Beverly Hills is in the area. No, I get it. There's a lot of people that are pretty much well done with the rich people at this point, but. Silmar's not that way. This is, they've got a Harbor Freight, people. This is not a rich area. Okay. They're in trouble. And even scarier is this is Eaton Canyon in northeastern LA, Eaton Canyon, this area up here. This is the Eaton fire. Again, the prevailing Altadena is in serious trouble. The fire is blowing south by southwest. This is a highly populated working class area. Scary. There's a lot of folks that are going to need us when this is over. So pretty please keep your eye on what's happening. Don't listen to stupid people. Right wingers are all gleeful every time there are fires in California because they don't understand them. They don't understand what's going on, what causes them, how they happen. They just, anything bad in California, and they're disgustingly happy. But yeah, we're going to need to pull together on this one. Fortunately, California has good governance, and they've got a surplus in their budget this year, so they'll be able to help themselves quite a bit. That's what good governance gets you. So let's move from that to some good news. I want to introduce you to two people. 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, this happened yesterday. This is freaking awesome. Remember I told you, before I pull it up, this is background. Remember I told you, look, there's going to be a backlash. There's always a normal backlash after someone wins an election. And if somebody sweeps like the Republicans did, even though it was a very close election, close to 50-50, they did take both houses and the White House. Whenever something like that happens, the next election and the subsequent elections are backlash elections. People, We saw it the night of the election. People were Googling, can I change my vote? I mean, that's just normal. Then you add to it that these people are freaking disgusting. The Trump regime is horrific. People are looking at the things they're doing, and it's going to be a hard backlash election. That's why I keep urging you, pretty please, get in touch with your local Democratic Party. Get involved on the ground, because these local elections mean everything. And we had some good news yesterday, my friend. Let me introduce you. 1 second. This is JJ Singh and Kanan Srinivasan. And I'm sure I killed Kanan's last name. They just won 2 special elections. See, the Republicans went all out in Virginia on these 2 special elections because it meant control of the House, the Virginia House. Yeah, we won. We absolutely won. These 2 gentlemen that did not run as Republican light, and Kenneth Srinivasan ran in an agricultural district, the Winchester. Well, let me just pull up where Winchester is, give you an idea. I should have had this ready to go for you. Be patient with me today. I've been reading a lot of stories and prepping for the show. Let me show you where Winchester, Virginia is. They bill themselves as the apple capital of the world. Need a cup of coffee. This is Winchester, Virginia. Here's Washington, D.C. Winchester is out here in rural Virginia. This isn't, a highly populated, liberal area. This is where Republicans really thought they had a shot. And no. Voters said no. They left the control of the Virginia State House in Democrat hands. They came out and they voted for a gentleman of Indian descent who did not run as Republican light. I'm telling you, folks, if we can keep everybody motivated, if we can stay on a campaign footing, if you can stay involved, get involved with it. The reason I keep encouraging you to get involved with your local Democratic Party is, one, races like this, of course, in which, again, the Republicans pulled out all stops. This meant flipping the House. They were going as hard as they could at this, and we won. If you get involved locally, one, the social aspect of it, the camaraderie. These local Democratic parties are fun places to be. They really are. It's good people. It's people just like you with the values that you hold. They get together, they meet, they have dinners, they coat drives, and different charitable things that they do. But yeah, it makes a difference. There are so many of these elections that are just razor close, that your involvement makes all the difference. You did this, folks. You did this. JJ Singh and Kanan Srinivasan didn't run. Again, these 2 gentlemen did not run as Republican light. They did not. I mean, think about that, folks. In Northern Virginia, they just elected a Sikh to the House. That's amazing. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. I mean, there's good news to be had. I mean, I understand. And we're going to talk about the Mango Mussolini later and some of the stuff that's going on and problems, because we are seeing a realignment in the world order. But before we get to that, we've got other news to talk about. Some of it not so good. This is Elizabeth Ann Strotman. She is in the running for worst mug shot ever. This is Elizabeth Ann Strotman. This is both a horrible story and a lesson in caution. A lesson in caution. Elizabeth Ann Strotman is a nurse in Virginia, and she was abusing babies in the neonatal intensive care unit. Yeah. A hospital had a trend of babies in the neonatal intensive care, in the NICU, showing up with broken bones. And they were able to track it back to her. She's got problems. And it's horrific, folks. Through the police investigation, they found 7 babies so far, and they know there are more. They know there are more. They have confirmed for sure that there are 7, but they know there are more. They have identified more, and they're in the processes of confirming that, yes, it was her. But the internet did its thing. And the internet ran articles on TikTok and everywhere that said her motivation was racism. That the overwhelming percentage of the babies were black, and that she did it out of racism. The police that are investigating this and know all of the babies out there that they're looking at say, no, that wasn't the motivation. She's just one sick puppy. She is just one sick puppy. But you know, that narrative gets a lot of clicks. It does. It gets a lot of clicks. Yeah, veggie owl girl, broken bones, fractured, some of them severely, several broken bones. She is one sick puppy. But yeah, this is just because I honestly, I fell for it. I was outraged. I was outraged when I saw people talking about this case, this incident, that this racist bigot, and the way it's being formed is, this isn't old racism. This isn't, stuff from the past. This isn't. No, this is new. She's in her 20s. She's young. This is new homegrown racism. And it outraged me. It upset me. And then I started digging into it. And then I started getting information from the actual police department that's doing the investigations. And they are very clear about it. Look, we know all the babies and know it wasn't racism. But it made for a lot of clicks. It did. It went viral. A lot of people got a lot of attention. And this is where the caution comes in, folks. I don't give a damn if a story gets me a lot of clicks or not. If it's an important story, we're going to talk about it. That's not the point. The point isn't to get me attention. It's to build the best community together that we can. And you people are amazing. Lori, thanks for the support. I really appreciate it. It goes against the laws of nature and it's incomprehensible. I know she has got to be one broken, sick individual. She just does. I mean, who hurts a baby? Who hurts a baby in a NICU? I mean, if you've never been to a neonatal intensive care unit, that will tear your heart from your chest. It will. But we're building a community here. You folks, we're global. If you're part of our global community, you're not in the States, please, just chime in. Let everybody know where you're from. We're global, and our audience is intelligent, informed. You're usually ahead of conversations. You'll be bringing up, even if it's something I'm not going to talk, like somebody was talking about Le Pen a minute ago in the chat. That's why you'll see me looking down. I'm actually, while I'm talking to you, I'm reading the chat. Yeah, that's one of the stories that I wasn't going to discuss today, but yes, Le Pen died. Finally. That old sorry bastard, racist bastard, died, and they are celebrating in the streets, and it's wonderful. But yeah, what's important, what we're doing here is that we're building a good community with solid information, because that's what we're going to have to do going forward. That is what we're going to have to do. We're going to talk about Judd Legeman in a little bit. He is a journalist. He's an independent journalist, and we're going to talk about how important it is to get away from the corporate media sources and find good sources. Well, part of finding good sources is getting away from the outrage baiters, the people that want to get you clicks. Because, you know, I'll tell you, I tell people all the time, I am not a journalist. I am a commentator. I rely heavily on journalists who do amazing work to get out there and do the job. And then I talk about what they learn and what it means in the big picture as a commentator. Way too many people on the internet are pretend journalists. They're like, oh, breaking story. Let me tell you about this because I know about it. And you don't know shit. You weren't a journalist. You didn't look it up. You didn't anything. You didn't do what I did, which took 10 minutes. It took me 10 minutes to take this story and just blow holes in what they're selling on the internet. You know, 10 minutes. But they don't do that. They want the outrage and they want the clicks. So we have to be careful going forward. We do. We have to be careful going forward. I'm going to need to turn the fan on in here. Somebody played with the thermostat and it is scorching hot in this room. Gina Lawson, thank you for the support. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Texas Paul, for all you do and for all you've taught us. You remind me to listen to what Republicans aren't saying. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It's you people. It's you people. I tell you all the time. I tell you all the time. It's because of you and the community that we're building here. Yeah, Le Pen was ultra. He was a sick racist bastard, and he is dead. Amen to that. But yeah, this did happen. There's a lot of good information from journalists out there. I'd advise you, please don't fall for the clickbait. There are local news outlets that are doing the reporting on this, that are talking to the investigators, and it is heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. Well, we've got a bit of global news. I hate to talk about him. You don't like to see his face. I don't like to see his face, and I definitely don't like to hear his voice. But, you know, this happened, and it's important. It's important to what's going on. We're seeing a realignment in the world order. We are. Thanks for the support, Mary. Kate Mary Light, thanks. You help keep us balanced on the topics of today. And that's my job. Jerry, thanks for the support, brother. I appreciate you. Mr. Knutson in the house. Norway in the house. There you go. Yeah, it's worth celebrating. It is. I wasn't going to do that one, but you know, we'll talk about it in the round table. I'll find the videos of them celebrating. They're literally celebrating with fireworks in the streets in France. And we'll talk about that in the round table. We will. E.T. Denzel Washington was getting on reporters about the crap they put out. Yeah, that was a good clip. If you haven't seen the Denzel Washington clip, he really does lay it out about how anything you practice, you become good at it, even if it's putting bullshit out. I mean, it was a great clip. I love how informed you folks are. Spending time with you people is everything. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. This happened. And I promise this is the only clip from this disgusting individual. Aaron Rupar. Great follow. He's on Blue Sky. He's on Threads. Great follow. Aaron Rupar. atrupar.com. Good source for video clips. He watches entire news conferences. He shaves out the nonsense, the stupidity, the dead air, and brings you clips like this. Absolutely priceless, the work this man does. Outstanding follow. Outstanding follow.
Mexico's really in trouble, a lot of trouble. very dangerous place. And we're going to be announcing at a future date pretty soon. We're going to change, because we do most of the work there and it's ours. We're going to be changing sort of the opposite of Biden, where he's closing everything up, essentially getting rid of 50 to 60 trillion.
Mexico's not ours. Mexico is not ours.
$1 worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a...
Yeah, he is serious about that. And that's going to happen in your kids' books, textbooks. It will no longer be the Gulf of Mexico. It will be the Gulf of America. Elections have consequences, and they do have the power to make that happen. So yeah, just get used to it. Crazy shit like this is going to happen, but it is fantasy land. Garbage. You heard what he said about, oh, Biden's closing down $100 million and that. No, what he's talking about was the policy that the Biden administration has in place. It's a use it or lose it policy. If you are not developing fields, if you are not out there using the government permits, period, they will take your permit. And the net result has been we are the largest producer of oil in the world. We're producing more oil now than we ever have because of that brilliant policy. But this guy is going to pander to the oligarchs. He told you, you saw it before, it was in the news we did before, give me $1 billion and I'll let you do what you want. Yeah. Do you think the net result is going to be cheap gas for you? No, it is not. Let's finish the clip and we'll talk about it.
Has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate. And Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country. They can stop them. And we're going to put very serious tariffs on Mexico and Canada, because Canada, they come through Canada too. And the drugs that are coming through are at record numbers.
Look, it's really simple. The campaign monitors what's going on the ground. They monitor social media. They poll people continuously, and they're staying on the campaign footing. They are. We need to also. There's nothing out there. These appointments from Trump were horrifying to even Republicans. They were. Doesn't matter what they say. They were. These people are imbeciles. They're stupid. They're unqualified. Everybody saw that. So he is flailing. He is looking for something to excite people. And he thought, this will rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Oh, patriotism. Woo. Woo. That's all this is. And it's going to be 4 years of it, because they are running a trash TV, 90 Day Fiancé administration. That's what the regime is going to be. The Trump regime is going to be nonstop drama the whole time, but it's run by imbeciles. And people are not reacting well to it. They aren't. Despite what Fox News and everyone else will tell you, no, people are not reacting well to what's going on. The threats of we're going to take Greenland, and I'm not going to play you the clip because I can't stand listening to that freak talk. Yeah, he's was asked in an interview, said, surely you're not, you're talking about a purchase. You're talking about an economic exchange. You're talking about something. They were trying to sane wash him, Trump claiming he's going to take Greenland and he's going to take the Panama Canal. And they fed him a slow, fat one right over the center of the plate for him to knock out of the park. Surely you mean something sane, right? You mean that you're not going to talk about using the military. We're talking about economically, right? Nope. No, I absolutely mean the military. That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. The guy's a moron, and people are not reacting well to it. They aren't. Chris, aka Cult of Personality Birch. I have a wicked conspiracy theory. A bunch of oil companies bribed the Republican Party to ignore what we call climate change. Yeah, you think, man? You think? Yeah. But this happened. Let me introduce you to Jean-Noel Barrot. He is the French foreign minister. He speaks for the country of France. When asked directly about this, he said in no uncertain terms, he said, no one, and I mean no one, is going to take territory from EU countries, period. We, and as France, will not allow it. Period. End of story. End of story. That was their response to this. And again, I can't stand hearing the man talk. I just can't. I'm not going to do it, folks. If you're looking to hear Trump speak, you're in the wrong place. Over the next 4 years, it will be as little as humanly possible. I will not be playing what he has to say. I'm just not. I'll characterize it for the most part. But yeah, this nonsense, you've seen it over the Panama Canal, in Greenland, all of that nonsense. France has come out strong against us. They're trying to make NATO threats again. And I put a comment out on social media, put a pin in it. The EU will be asking us to leave. I see that happening 2 to 4 years. Yeah, they're going to be asking us to leave. And this is why. This is why. It boils down to this. The world order was held in place because you had basically two superpowers, and then you had China in the middle, which really wasn't a superpower. It wasn't. They were just an economic powerhouse. You could slowly add Brazil to that, which is why China is very interested in Panama. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. The way the world order fell down, oriented itself, was Russia behaved quite poorly. They were a threat. They were always threatening to do what they did in Ukraine. Yeah, they've always been the boogeyman. And then you had us, which, yeah, we weren't the nicest people to do business. Let's be honest. We weren't always the nicest people to do business with. We looked out for our own self-interest, but nowhere near what Russia did. So basically, people needed us, for the lack of a better way to put it, to be both the military and economic counterpoint to Russia. Ukraine changed it all. But before we get to Ukraine, we'll start with the last Trump administration. Trump's threats about NATO. Folks, elections have consequences. I can't say that enough. Elections have consequences. And Trump's last administration, hold on 1 minute. ET in the house, man. Do what Colbert used to do. Get a kid to read stuff that he said. That's a good one, man. That is a good one. John Rechenberg, this is a new donation, man. Appreciate you for supporting the show, man. Jan Rechenberg. I appreciate it. Did I pronounce that right? Is it Rechenberg or Rechenberg? Tell me in the comments. I like to pronounce people's names correctly. Push bonds are dropping. People have no faith in criminals like Trump. I believe you meant to say plus bonds are dropping. Yeah, folks, this is going to be a realignment of the world order, and we're going to talk about it here. William J. Atheist, by saying he will take Greenland, Canada, Mexico, and Panama, what he is doing is giving Putin permission to take other territories. See, here's the thing. Yeah, part of that, yeah, we'll skip to that part. You folks are always ahead of the conversation, but we'll skip to that part. Part of that is he's got Putin envy. He does. That's what all this talk is about. He's got Putin envy. He's got no idea how to handle the economic situation I'm about to talk about here in a minute. I'm going to use Panama as an example. He has no, they can't. They're morons. They're stupid. Been a loco in the house. Yeah, he does. He does. But elections have consequences. He's going to be the next president of the United States. But look, let's talk about the last Trump administration and NATO for just a reminder for folks. If you're new to the audience, we've covered this in other shows. Trump threatened NATO so much that our European allies, they didn't just sit with their thumb up their butt. They didn't. They took it serious. They said, okay, look, realistically, if Americans are going to elect people like Trump, we need to take care of ourselves. We cannot rely on the United States to hold up NATO anymore. So in that respect that Trump claims to have increased military spending, or as he liked to call them, NATO dues, the man has no idea how NATO works. None whatsoever. But yeah, defense spending has increased in Europe. They came to the understanding NATO may not be a thing forever. If we keep going down the road that they saw us going down, they're going to need to be standing on their own. Joe Biden gets elected. We repair those relationships. NATO grows stronger than ever. But again, everything Europe was worried about, we did again. We reelected that jerk off, that Putin sycophant. But Europe's ready. Talk to the people in our audience that are from Europe. We have people here from Denmark, from Norway, from France. Yeah, folks, they don't need us. Fast forward to the Ukraine war. Fast forward to Putin. Going to take Ukraine in 3 days. 3 days. Yeah, right. Had Putin succeeded, this would have been a very different conversation we're having now. But the curtain got pulled back. The people figured out that the Wizard of Oz ain't a wizard. By the way, go see Wicked. I took my granddaughter to that. Great. If you can catch it before it leaves the theaters, do it. It's a musical, and it is amazing on that sound system on that screen. If you get a chance to see it, go see it. But yeah, the curtain got pulled back. Everybody saw that the Russian military is a joke. Folks, Ukraine is fighting Russia with a fraction of the men, with a fraction of the army. Yes, we're supporting them, but it's still Ukraine. And believe me, that was a huge wake-up call for Europe and the people in the European Union. Nobody is afraid of Russia anymore. Nobody. Let me say it again. Nobody is afraid of Russia anymore, especially Europe. So what do they need us for? If we're not good partners, if we're not friends, if we're not trading partners, if we're not honest brokers, Sherry Ellison, pay no attention to the man, but yeah, exactly the point. Exactly the point. If we, the United States, are going to have Trump, who says, I'm going to take Greenland from Denmark, that is Danish territory, folks. That's not a good partner. It's just not. Trump, and let me give you a little warning here. I'm going to run through this again. I know I've talked about this in a previous show, but it's very important to know what's going to happen. The stupids won't know. There's going to be a lot of people out there that aren't you, that aren't going to be prepared for this. Oil prices and gas prices are going to plummet right after Trump takes office. They are. Folks, I'm telling you, the bigs are pulling out of the Permian Basin right now as we speak. They have suspended all new drilling, all new finish outs. The bigs are prepared for this. That means it's really happening, folks. These people are the ones on the inside. Watch what the big oil producers do. Not what people say, not what comes out of their mouth. Trust me. They know. They know. ET, NATO should ask all of Central America and North America, North Atlantic fronting countries, as well as those in Africa, to join the alliance as well. There's going to be a reorganization of NATO. There is. There is. And like I was talking about earlier, I put this out on social media. I did put a pin in it. The European Union will be asking us to pick up our shit and leave. They'll be closing bases. They will. It's going to happen. 2 to 4 years, folks. Who's the winner in all this? Who is the winner in all this? Yeah, I'm muted for a second. I know, folks. You don't have to 500 people don't have to tell me in the chat that I was muted. I know I muted it. I muted it because I took a big gulp of coffee, and a lot of people have emailed me that you don't like when I take the big gulps of coffee. So I'm trying. But yeah, nobody's scared of Putin anymore. They don't need us. We're seeing a realignment of the world order. And because of Republican isolationism, even the Biden administration really wasn't able to reach out to compete with China. I love you people so much. Look at ET here. China, way ahead of me. We haven't been able to compete globally with building alliances and relationships with China. Why? Republican isolationism. Folks, we can't get them to engage in projects good for Americans in America because all they want to do is slash and burn government so that Johnny Got Rocks, their donors that write them checks, can make campaign contributions. They can get their little scrap off the table like a good dog. You know, the oligarchs can sweep off a piece of meat and let it fall on the floor for the Republican dogs. We can't get things done here in the United States. Lord knows they have been hamstringing the Biden administration trying to compete with China, who are doing things like this. Let me pull it up. One's Susan McIntosh. Thank you for the support. Trump will get us in a war and we won't have any allies. That is a distinct possibility. It doesn't seem possible, but will the EU kick our military out of Europe? I am telling you that will happen in 2 to 4 years. I put a pin in it. I'm sticking my neck out. I don't like to make predictions. That is one that I'm making. But yeah, while we're suffering from isolationism and the Republicans not allowing us to not only not do things at home, we're not financing projects for our neighbors either. You know, China, folks, this isn't hard. Before I pull this up, this isn't hard. Okay? China takes out a loan, or they use some of their own cash reserves, which they do. They're like us. They're a functioning government. They have to pay back money that they loan out. They do. And there's a low interest rate on those loans. They carry that same low interest rate over to places like, Panama. So it's a wash. We could do that. We have some of the best credit in the world. We could loan out money for projects, for ports, for Well, things like this. Panama is in the process of building the most efficient power grid in the world. They're building a massive solar project. While Republicans are here denying that global warming exists, countries all over the world, even countries like Panama that are not economic superpowers, are moving forward without us. And they're doing it with China. China is funding that. China is issuing low interest loans that are like, again, they're a wash to China. It's no skin off China to do this. And it's all net gain politically. Folks, I reached out to my people in Panama. I did when this first happened. And they thought, Trump's a joke. They don't think that anymore. They don't. They think he's serious now. What do you think they're doing in Panama? What do you think the net result of this has been in Panama? You think they love us? You think they're ready to deal? No. Trump pushed them right into China's arms. Panama right now is negotiating with China to make all the bullshit that Trump said, the made up stuff about, the Chinese military is running the Panama Canal and all that, that's just completely false. Panama's negotiating to make that come true. Because China has investments to protect in Panama. They have done what has been needed to be. Remember, we talked about, look, there's not always, and this doesn't apply to Panama. Panama is nothing but a good situation. It is literally the center of our two continents, North and South America. Economically, it is just a no-brainer. It is where the Panama Canal is. It is a no-brainer to want to have good relations with Panama. And again, we can't compete with China because the Republicans are anti-globalists. They're isolationists. Folks, Panama they're hearing these threats and they shrug them off, laugh them off. Now they're serious. They are running to China. You are now going to see Chinese submarines moored in Panama over the next few months. That will be the escalation. You'll see Chinese submarines moored in Panamanian ports. You'll see actual Chinese troops in Panama because Trump is an idiot. He is a moron. He doesn't see this realignment of our world order and how the rest of the world just wants to do business. They're tired of this. They're sick of Russia. They're sick of us. They don't want the drama. They just don't want it. And because nobody's afraid of Russia anymore, they don't need us. Which gives us two choices going forward. And takes us back to this last election and what those choices were. We could have had President Harris that understood the global community, that did all of those things that the morons, and we're going to talk about this education here in just a minute, but the morons on the right keep talking about. She was going to work with people. She was going to foment globalism. Because I got news for you. The rest of the globe is embracing globalism. They are. Mexico, everything Trump tells you about Mexico is bullshit. They are growing by leaps and bounds. They are. The cartels don't even import drugs to the United States. I know Hollywood is really bad about portraying the cartels as operating here in the United States. Folks, that's just not true. It's homegrown Americans and American criminal organizations that go to the cartels, which are basically a supermarket for drugs. That's what the cartels are. They are a supermarket for illicit drugs. And we import them. But that doesn't sell to the bigots. So they do the boogeyman stuff. And you get nonsensical shows produced in Hollywood. So your stupids believe it. Peter Campbell, the point of all this is and continues to be distraction and chaos. It's always been the goal of Putin to dismantle the West. Thanks as always for your contribution. Exactly, Peter. Exactly where I was going. They cannot operate a government. I've told you this over and over and over again, and they've never proved me wrong. Republicans cannot govern because governing fundamentally goes against their beliefs. So yeah, at the exact wrong time in the world, when China is utilizing handshakes, loans, friendship to influence countries, we're offering chaos. We're offering threats. We're offering, when Panama is receiving from China low interest loans, and I told you, I just got back from Panama, and I'm going back in a few weeks, folks. I just want to warn you in advance. There will be some traveling sometime. I'll have to do some shows from the road, but folks, at the exact wrong time, when countries like Panama are just seeing economic, I don't even know the right word. Help me out here, folks. You are so smart. Help me with what is because rebirth isn't it. They have never seen the kind of economic growth and evolution that these countries are seeing now. And China, damn it, is making all the right moves at the exact same time that Russia has made all the wrong moves, and we have nothing to offer but chaos. So yeah, just let me wrap this up and land this plane with this. As usual, as always, the Republicans are going to destroy things. Our relationships, the respect our government has, it's just going to happen. It happens over and over and over again. David Martinez, Trump said, drill, baby, drill. The oil companies said no. Yeah, folks, that really, really is happening right now. You can Google it yourself. The bigs have all stopped all development. Let me put a pin in this because this is important. This is important. This is going to seriously affect you. Ensign Parker, what are the chances they will invoke Article 25? Yeah, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening because look at the oligarchs just bribing him out in the open. He's exactly what they want. They're just too arrogant to understand that what they want isn't actually best for them or us. No, I don't see Trump being taken out with the 25th Amendment or anything like that. But let me explain real quick what's going on in the oil industry right now, today. Just name a big oil company. They all do business. They all get their oil out of the Permian Basin here in Texas. They do. It is one of the richest. You know, I've talked about it before. That show Landman is based in the Permian Basin. It is just, I can't stress to you how much freaking oil is there. And it's West Texas Intermediate crude. It is great oil for a refiner. So here's the deal. If the bigs have stopped drilling, they have stopped finishing out wells, that means they know there's a glut coming. Because Trump is going to take office and he's going to repeal all the sanctions that we have on Russia because he loves him some Putin. Russia will then absolutely flood our markets with oil. And Trump will do nothing about it because it's Putin. The Saudis have just announced that here, let me pull it up for you so that you don't have to take my word for it. One moment. Forgive the dead air here. This just happened. This just happened. Donald Trump is going to be president of the United States. And he is not going to back away from his businesses this time. Not even a pretend blind trust like he did last time. He didn't back away from his businesses last time. And these morons that were like, oh, Trump's not taking a salary. Oh, my God. Yeah, I'm sure. Making millions of dollars off foreign entities. You know, them giving Jared Kushner with no expertise and qualifications $2 billion to manage. Yeah, well, the Saudis have announced they've done a deal with the incoming president of the United States, their golf tournament, their live golf tournament. And again, folks, if you don't think this is direct bribery and just pumping money into the Trump administration, you need to understand golf is dying. It is dying as a sport. There's a reason. You remember when we were growing up, every freaking Sunday there was a golf tournament on television. Every damn Sunday. Golf. No more. You don't see that anymore. Marcia Klepper, I haven't had a chance to look. How bad did Junior embarrass himself in Greenland? Horribly, Marcia. Horribly. Hooked up with a convicted criminal drug dealer. Don't know how that would have happened. Why would Don Jr., be associated with a drug dealer in Greenland? Oh, my God. It was just... Anyways, that was for another show. Thanks for bringing it up, though. So, yeah, the Saudis are going to pump millions of dollars directly into Trump's pocket. Doral dying. Doral is really expensive to run. Its finances are shit. But here comes the Saudis with their checkbook. And what does that mean? Well, let's go back to what we were talking about. Michael Z, good to see you, my man. And thank you for the gift. I appreciate you. What the Orange Moron is doing in Canada absolutely saddens so many of us. Yeah, I hear you, brother. I hear you. Thank you for the support, man. Think about it. Think about what's happening, okay? I told you the large oil companies are pulling out of development in the Permian Basin. Putin is going to flood the market with oil. The Saudis are going to flood Trump's pockets with bribe money. Do you think Trump's going to act on behalf of our oil industry? No. No. Do you think Trump is going to do things like, I don't know, keep the price of oil up and keep American companies from dying by doing what the Biden administration did, which is when oil prices dipped, he bought oil like crazy for our reserves? No. No. So what does that mean? What does that mean? It means that our small to medium-sized oil producers die. In the first 6 months of Trump's administration, they die. And when they die, that means the people get laid off, the infrastructure gets sold off. It's not like you can just turn the switch back on. It doesn't work that way. So guess what the Saudis are going to do to recoup their investment? Guess what the Russians are going to do to refill their coffers that they've emptied in the war in Ukraine? They're going to jack their prices and make tons of profit after they kill our oil industry. And we will no longer be, put a pin in this one, we are the world's largest producer of oil. That ends. And that, folks, you know, a lot of people have speculated about why is Trump going after Canada? They're our friends. They're our buddies, our pals. If Trump slaps a tariff on Canada, imagine what that does to their petroleum industry. And who benefits from that when they go through the same problems? Because we're the ones that buy Canadian oil. Peter Campbell, mainstream media is a desert. So glad we have Texas Paul and as one of the few aces. Man, thank you. I'm very flattered. I'm very flattered. Thanks again for your hard work. I appreciate it. I really do, Peter. Thank you for supporting the show. I can't do it without you. I can't put the time in without you. But look, that's what's behind this attack of Canada, folks. That's it. He slaps tariffs on Canada at the same time that Russia and the Saudis flood our markets with oil. It decimates our oil industry. It decimates Canada's oil industry. And you cannot turn these switches back on. And his buddy Pooty Poot and MBS make out like fiends. Who pays? You do. You get the stupids bought off because they're like, I told you gas would come down when Trump was it takes office. I told you gas would come down. Sure, you're going to pay $1.50 a gallon for a while. That's going to happen again for about 6 months to a year. And then that's going to change really rapidly. Really freaking rapidly. They'll probably time that spike for just after the midterm election. But in the end, long term, we lose. We lose. You know, these are complex issues. There's a good follow, Mr. Global 2. He talks about the oil and gas industry. Good source of information. I don't always agree with his political side of what he says, but as far as the stuff he talks about with the oil and gas industry, spot on. It's what he does for a living. He talked about the Keystone XL pipeline that got killed. Now, the Keystone pipeline exists. It's pumping oil. Then your average MAGA moron talks about Biden killed the Keystone pipeline. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. It exists. It's pumping oil today. What got killed was a partially built pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline. Did the Keystone and your average MAGA moron says, well, that's why gas prices are so high. No, the Keystone XL pipeline would increase your gas prices. And I invite you to go follow Mr. Global 2. He does a wonderful in-depth explanation of exactly why. But here's the Cliff's Notes of it. Canada, we're their customer. We are Canada's customer for oil. We buy the overwhelming majority of the oil from Canada. The Keystone XL pipeline was designed to put Canadian oil to allow world markets more access to Canadian oil. If you're in an auction, and I'm stealing this directly from Mr. Global 2, it was a great point. Why reinvent the wheel? If you're in an auction and you're the only bidder, what are the prices like in that auction? They're pretty damn low, aren't they? But if you're in an auction and there's 50 bidders, what happens to those prices? Well, that's what Canada was looking at with the Keystone XL pipeline. This was going to be a boom for them, but it was going to be shit for us here in the States. Our prices were going to go up. It wasn't going to help us. But the point is, the average MAGA moron can't understand. They're not you, folks. I keep telling you, we have to remember, we talk to each other. We have an incredible community. You people are amazing. We are not the majority. The stupids out there can't understand these complex issues. They can't. All they have is a bias, and every story, all they want is to sit there. And I talk to people that are running campaigns, and I remind them of this. They're sitting there holding their phones on their social media, desperately waiting for their talking heads to tell them why anything that's happened fits their bias. That's it. That's politically what we're running against. And we can never forget that. But there are some things that happen. There are some things that happen that can change things. They can. Let's move on to this next story. DEI took a pretty hard hit. And just a reminder, DEI wasn't quotas. DEI wasn't affirmative action. None of that. All DEI was, it's really simple. Diversity, equity, and inclusion were just voluntary programs from businesses, from colleges, where they went out into every community and they recruited the best they could from every community. And it was a great boogeyman. Riding the backlash is real. Riding the backlash is real. I've showed you the institutes. I've shown you the people. Christopher Rufo on the right. This is what he does for a living, is create these backlashes. So they told the morons, the stupids, that DEI was something that it wasn't, and they made a boogeyman out of it. Oh, them people of color are just getting your white jobs that you're more qualified for. They sold narratives that were just based in bigotry and bias that had no basis in reality. And Republicans that were in power ran with it, just like they did, the bullshit they made up about immigration, on and on and on. And DEI got decimated because of it. There were huge backlashes about it. If you just trust me, walk up to your MAGA friends and family. I'm sure you don't have MAGA friends, but your people that that are MAGA, and just say DEI and watch what happens on their face. Spicy Jester says, from the courts to the cabinet, billionaires now run the government. American voters will reap what they sow. Nobody's protecting you from their greed. Great segue to what I'm about to talk about. This is important. DEI just scored a huge win, and it had nothing to do with DEI itself or anybody advocating for it. Lori, thanks for the support. Thanks for the support. Chris, aka Cult of Personality Birch, glad to see you still here. Texas Paul, did you see Hulk Hogan? Sorry ass getting booed out of the building on Monday. Yeah, that was great. That was great. That was absolutely great. They think that everybody, they live in these delusions about who their supporters are. and they have no clue. If you don't know what he's talking about, Hulk Hogan made an appearance, and there were a lot of people that don't like Trump in that crowd. And the minute Hulk Hogan showed his face, they booed his ass off the stage and out of the building. They did. There's going to be a lot of that backlash, folks, just like these elections we had. That's why you got to get involved. I know I sound like a broken drum, but you have to. Bald Thanos. Thanos was bald, my friend. Paul, another subject in the news will be coming back soon is the private prison corporation. Oh, yeah, that's going to be huge with the camps they're building. Oh, yeah. But anyways, let me finish with what we were talking about. This is happening. This is happening. A looming demographic cliff, fewer college students, and ultimately fewer graduates. I know that's a very negative headline. I know it is. And the story itself talks about a problem that universities are facing. Let me explain to you why it's a good thing. Why it's a good thing. And why DEI wins here. Real DEI, not what the made-up boogeyman bullshit that the right-wingers talk about. What DEI actually is and why it wins here. All right, what that article was talking about, it was focused on Iowa Wesleyan University. Iowa Wesleyan, it was a private university that's been in business for 183 years. And it closed. It's gone. And the university systems, both public and private, have been dealing with a trend. They don't have enough students to pay the bills. In the middle of Republicans and their do-nothing slash budget so that Johnny Got Rocks can get a tax break form of governing, universities have been bracing for what's happening. Universities' educations are turning into a buyer's market. There aren't enough students to go around, which is going to mean lower tuitions, which are going to mean incentives to bring students in. Now, I want you to imagine this is exactly going on at the same time that Republicans made them kill DEI. And all DEI was universities doing what they have to do to bring in new students. They have to go into non-traditional markets and say, let's find the good students. Let's do that. Do you think universities are giving up on that? No, they're not. All they've done is rebrand DEI because they know they're looking at these trends and they know an education itself, secondary education, formal advanced education is turning into a buyer's market. We're an aging population, folks. And the Republicans are trying to kill immigration as hard as they can to this is what the whole Elon Musk H-1B abuse your employees visa fight is all about. They have programmed their base with such poison that's not based in reality that your average Republican, and I've got some, let me pull this up for you. Pew Research just did a poll on this. This is what's happened with Republicans. This is a Pew Research Center that does polls for a living. Did polls for the universities because they're terrified about this trend. Well, look at this. Folks, not only are universities becoming a buyer's market where they're going to incentivize, they're going to be looking in more diverse areas to bring in more diverse students because they have to survive. They're talking about hundreds of universities, mostly private, shutting down over the next decade if they don't recruit more students. Where are you going to recruit the students from? It's going to be immigrants. That's where your source of youth is. Now, if you take a look here, Republicans at this exact same time have given up on college. 60% of young Republicans have a negative view of college and getting a college education, whereas we Democrats are still up here, the 67 to 72%. We haven't changed at all. So who's going to be in your colleges? Your liberal indoctrination camps. This is the silver lining going forward. Universities have to recruit. They do. And the people that they're recruiting are going to be even more liberal going forward. Our people are going to be represented in the educated classes disproportionately going forward. That's a good thing, folks. That is a good thing. No more of these poison. The last thing you want is a smart bigot. That's the last thing you want, is a smart, capable bigot. And there will be fewer and fewer of them and more of us, simply because, one, we're aging out. Two, Republicans have poisoned the idea of education. If you talk to, they literally call them liberal indoctrination camps, is what they call universities. They will not send their kids. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. So despite their attempts to kill DEI, thanks, Grateful Dad, Austin, I appreciate it. ATX, Austin, Texas. I appreciate you, my friend. I really do. Thank you for supporting the show. Despite them trying to kill DEI, they're literally making it come true. They're forcing the universities to seek students from the very communities that these white, bigoted Republicans did not want these students to come from. At the exact same time, they're telling their own kids not to go to college. So yeah, that's a good thing. It is and yes, there is a double-edged sword to this. One of the things that is bad that's coming out of this, and I wouldn't be honest if I just played it up as pie in the sky, everything's great. One of the bad things that's coming out of this is a desperate university system will lower its standards. It will. And it will be easier for poorer, and I don't mean economically poorer, I mean less capable students to get into our university systems, which in the end, garbage in, garbage out. It's just the way it is. If you're not a good student going into college, you ain't going to be a good student coming out. It's just the way it works. Very few people make that turn. They usually end up failing. But yeah, as a whole, this is a good thing. It doesn't matter if your MAGA bigot, idiot uncle worries about them liberal indoctrination camps and that DEI. And nothing they can do about it. Not a damn thing they can do about it. The economics of the situation is that even public universities are now embracing the fact that, damn, we've got to recruit. It's a buyer's market as far as college educations go. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing. Annabelle TV, live in Iowa Quad City area. We are losing so many students, and colleges are closing. Historical college, 120, 130 years old. We were the first area to open colleges when the country was young. Yeah, it's in Republican ground zeros that this is happening. It is. Nita Hansen says, Roseanne said she would teach you everything you need to know, and you didn't need college. Yeah. Yeah. Folks, isn't that a good thing? The stupids are getting dumber. Our people are getting smarter. We're becoming a larger share. And that trend will not change over the next several decades. If anything gives you hope for the future, hang your hat on that. All right, folks, enough of the politics. Education is a great segue into this. We've had a couple really freaking amazing things happen. And yes, I will tie it back to politics. So stick with me the next 5-10 minutes. We're going to talk about some really technical, amazing stuff that just happened. But trust me, stick with me. You're going to want to stick with me for this. Everybody knows Albert Einstein. Everybody knows Albert Einstein. One of the things that he theorized, or they talked about due to his work in quantum physics, is what he called spooky particles or entangled particles. Folks, it was one of these things that they knew they could, their research, the math just told them had to exist, but they didn't really want to believe it. And that's where Einstein fell into this. And for the longest time, nobody believed any of this stuff would actually come to fruition. They all kind of figured that the math would change. Somebody would figure out that they made a mistake somewhere. They didn't. They didn't. Einstein's spooky particles have changed the world, and you don't even know it. There's been some amazing things that just happened. It is the difference between going from bookkeeping, like when I was a kid, you know, the paper ledgers, that kind of bookkeeping, to what we do now. It is that kind of change that just happened. And it is insane, mind-blowing insane. Stay with me, okay? All right, paired particles. And I promise I won't let your eyes glaze over. Paired particles. Let's talk about entangled particles. Quantum physics. It's incredible, but it's really simple. It's really simple. You take like a photon. They figured out that in the quantum universe, photons, there are different kinds of particles, but photons are really easy to work with in them. Will pair up with, let's say, an electron. And whatever you do to one will be reflected in the other. And it doesn't matter how far apart they are. What you do to one instantly happens to another. That's why Einstein called them spooky particles, because it was like magic. And we don't really understand why. It's just part of quantum physics. But we found it like in the 70s, we found them. In the 90s, we figured out how to maintain them. And we're going to get to the quantum chips here in a second. We're going to get to that in a second. That's not this. This is something different. That's one of the other things we're going to talk about. But stick with me, okay? So imagine, it's not hard to understand. What they do is they take a photon, they bombard it with gamma radiation, and they figured out that they can create an antiproton or a paired particle, and they figured out how to contain these things. Well, imagine, you know, like our computing's based on ones and zeros right now, you know, until you talk about quantum computing in qubits, but it's based on ones and zeros. So if you've got paired particles, what you do to one, you do to the other, happens in the other. It's instant communication, no matter how far apart they are. They've always theorized this, and they just made it happen. Northwestern University conducted an experiment where they took a set of paired particles, and they utilized photons because of the, you know, photons have no mass. When they bombard them and they create, I'm getting in the weeds. Getting too far. I don't want your eyes to glaze over. Anyway, they created paired particles. They contained them. They took one photon and they put it in a fiber optic cable. They experimented and experimented and experimented until they found the exact right light wave length and the exact right frequency to put the least amount of traffic to interfere with this paired particle as possible. Because paired particles, the reason they stop working isn't they become unpaired. It's because paired particles want to pair with other things. And then suddenly they don't work anymore because you don't have one that you control and one that you watch, observe, right? If they go pairing off with other things, you get other influences and it doesn't work. They took one of the paired particles, they sent it 30 kilometers through a fiber optic cable and got it out the other side and contained it. And it never paired with anything in the trip. And they were able to use exactly binary communication. Basically, where we're at now is in the infancy of this. But I want you to imagine that you have two particles. They've now sent one 30 kilometers apart. And whatever you do to one instantly is reflected in the other particle. No transmission of data, no nothing. It is literally instantaneous. And it does not matter how far apart they get. It can be across the galaxy. That is quantum physics for you folks. Magic. Not magic, it's science, but yeah, they really just did that. Now think about that. Think about the change. How fast we went from bookkeeping ledgers to punch cards to big tape reels to, we're talking just a few decades. Now we have supercomputers. Think about what they're going to do with this. Instantaneous communication. You're talking about Star Trek, man, where they're talking to each other across the frickin' galaxy with no time delay. And they just did it. They just did it. Tell me that's not frickin' amazing. Second thing that's happened. The second thing that's happened, quantum computing. Okay, they've made huge advances in quantum computing. This is Google's Sycamore computer. All right. Yeah, yeah, not that pretty to look at. Not that pretty to look at. Up until now, all we've had are what we call supercomputers. Up until a couple years ago, this was the mayor of Bad Motherfuckerville. This was the Summit supercomputer. Built by IBM. It was in Oak Ridge. They were using it for nuclear physics experimentation. They could run simulations, everything. This thing did quadrillions of communications almost instantly. Super fast, right? Super fast. And all of a sudden, and if you're an old geek like me, the name Cray supercomputers will stand out because they were the people that came up with the first working superconducting supercomputer, Cray. Cray was bought out by Hewlett Packard. And Hewlett Packard said, hold my beer. And a couple years ago, they came up with El Capitan. El Capitan is the fastest, right now, the fastest standard supercomputer in the world. Well, it was the fastest until Google came along with Sycamore. And notice the size difference here also. This is Google's Sycamore supercomputer. To give you an idea of the difference between these two, Google claims they come up with what are called benchmarks, okay? Benchmarks testing are, they run an algorithm through a computer to see how fast it handles it. Well, you remember that movie Good Will Hunting when the professor put that proof on the board and here comes Good Will Hunting and he solves it. And it's like, wait a minute, that's unsolvable. Who did this? This is amazing. This is incredible. Nobody was supposed to get this. Who did that? I remember all that. Well, there are people that do things like just develop algorithms that are so hard to solve that supercomputers can't solve them. And they came up with one that they said that supercomputers, even Summit, would take 10,000 years to solve. It would take 10,000 years to solve. Now, IBM, they argue with that. They're saying, oh, no, we can probably get it done in 3.5 days. Big spread there, 10,000 years, 3.5 days. But even if you took the 3.5 days mark, how fast do you think Sycamore solved it? That benchmark. And it did solve it. It didn't work on it to where they could test this, the speed and the processing power. It solved it. How fast do you think Sycamore did it? The mathematicians say 10,000 years. IBM say, oh no, 3.5 days. How fast? Well, you are some optimistic people. Talk about anticlimactic. 3 seconds, 38 seconds, 1 minute. I was blown away. It was 200 seconds. 200 seconds. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. 3 minutes and 40 seconds? 200 seconds. Somebody do the math on it for me. It's for 3 minutes and 40 seconds. It solved it. That fast. Done. Reality. And guess what? Sycamore's not even the fastest anymore. This just happened. This just happened. Let me introduce you Willow. Willow's their next generation. Sycamore had 54 qubits. 54 qubits. Okay. Normally, you're talking about circuits that are just have ones and zeros on and off. Qubits have 16 positions. It increases computing power, as you can tell, exponentially. It had 54 qubits. Think about it as you've got a 64-bit processor, bits. That's where qubits and bits come from. They process 64 chunks at a time at a super fast speeds. And that's how a standard computer works. Okay. Qubits can have 16 positions instead of 2, right? Willow has 105 qubits. Willow is so fast. Let me give you an idea. Security is over. Cybersecurity is over. Your standard computer can go flat out as fast as it wants to process. You're talking about encryption code. It can go as fast as it can to create a rolling code, a code that changes continuously. Again, I'll use a movie as an example. Y'all remember I forgot the name of it. It's Benedict Cumberbatch when they were talking about breaking Enigma. Mind Lock. I'm not one of my favorite movies, and I'm not able to recall the title of it. Anyways, where they were breaking encryption, the Enigma encryption. Well, now they have computers that generate rolling encryption so that the encryption constantly changes. Your standard computer cannot create encryptions fast enough to stay ahead of Willow. Willow will literally break the code before your system. Yeah, talking about Alan Turing. Bletchley Park and Alan Turing, yeah. But The Imitation Game, there you go. One of my favorite movies. Watch it. Great movie. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Imitation Game, 2 of my favorite movies. But watch The Imitation Game. Great movie. Benedict Cumberbatch does an amazing, talking about Bletchley Park and breaking of Enigma. And anyways. So yeah, this has happened. It is going to change the world incredibly. incredibly, it is going to change the world. Some good ways, some bad, some not so good ways. Okay, a good way, I don't know how many of you are aware of Apophis. Apophis is a massive asteroid the size of several cruise ships end to end, that is screaming at us. It is going to pass so close to Earth that you'll be able to, you folks in our European audience, you folks will be able to watch it fly by with the naked eye. I mean, it's going to be close, folks. It's going to pass under some of our satellites. And some moron thought, let's name that Apophis. If you don't know, Apophis is the Egyptian god of death and chaos. I would have named it something like Easter Bunny, something nice. Why would you name a meteor that's going to pass so close to Earth in 2029 that you're going to name it after the god of death? I mean, moron. Why would you do that? I love that word moron, if you can't tell. Brian Peachy, doesn't Sycamore look like the evil computer we see in sci-fi? Yeah, no kidding. It is a completely different architecture. It has changed. The world has changed, folks. It has. And these supercomputers do things like calculate the orbit of Apophis continuously over and over and over again. Because, you know, if an asteroid hits this thing and changes its trajectory just a little bit, it could hit us. So they monitor it constantly. We need these supercomputers, and they're getting faster and faster, which is a good thing in that respect. There are good things that they can do. There are also bad things they could do, like hyper trading. Hyper trading. Right now, there are companies that are utilizing technology to beat the system in the stock market. It's called hyper trading. What they do is they spend absolute fortunes on real estate to have their offices as close as humanly possible to the New York Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange, the Tokyo Nikkei Stock Exchange, Hong Kong. They buy real estate and lease real estate as close as humanly possible to these exchanges. Then they buy the absolute fastest computers in the world to manage that you can get your hands on for these types of applications to track trades. And when, just an example, one example, in the London exchange, when the price of a stock changes, goes up or down, the time it takes to transmit from the London to the New York Stock Exchange, they will beat that trade by milliseconds. But milliseconds are all they need. They call it picking up pennies off the floor. But they do it in such large quantities, literally millions and millions and millions of trade per day, that they can beat the price change, initiated a trade, buy the stock, and then get the new price and resell it. And they've made a penny off of a stock, or a half a penny, or a quarter of a penny. And it's just manipulation of technology. I want you to think about how fast and how far, and just let your imagination run for a second, what a nefarious person will do with a quantum computer. Because Google isn't doing this for giggles. They aren't. They're doing this to sell. And who's going to buy a computer that can wreck any encryption? Who's going to buy a computer that is so freaking fast? And how are they going to use it? Let me introduce you to Judd Legum. He is a follow that I would really like you to follow. When I first got into politics, one of the first sources of information I found was Think Progress, was a blog that he founded. Remember blogs? Not so much around as much anymore. But yeah, he was a good source of information. He's an independent journalist. He's a journalist. He's a lawyer. He's on Blue Sky. Give him a follow. Great information. He just wrote he's got a publication on Substack called Popular Info. And he just wrote, let me click over to that, an article on how there's a company that created a service where they take property managers. It's called RealPage. They take property managers and they lease the service to them. And what it does is it monitors rental rates everywhere, constantly. And instead of these individual landlords competing with one another for tenants, RealPage sets the price for everybody. And it's costing average Americans billions of dollars every year because there's no longer competition in the rental markets. You know, they're blaming immigrants for coming in. No, it's this. It's things like this. They're literally coordinating. They're buying the service that guarantees everyone rents at the price they set. Essentially taking thousands of landlords and turning them into a single monopoly. And the Biden administration is going after them for this. They're going to break this up. Well, they were, if we had elected Kamala Harris. Do you think Trump's going to break this up? Because this is where it gets really scary. This is what they're already doing with the computers that we have available now. Imagine what they're going to do. Let your imagination run. What are they going to do when they have quantum computer? And there's no one minding the store. No one, that won't take a bribe in broad daylight. A president, Metal Mark, yeah, absolutely. You're damn right it's collusion. But what stops it? Government. Something Republicans don't believe in at all. So yeah, while they're selling the bigots a bill of goods to feed their hate about the immigrants, that's why your housing's so expensive, because the immigrants, the damn Biden administration is letting all the immigrants come in, and that they're driving your rent up. That's why, Mr. Poor person, poor white person. And those bigots are like, what? Yeah, that's right, because I don't like them people. I knew they were the problem. I knew they were the problem. When in all reality no, it's Johnny Got Rocks buying up houses. Johnny Got Rocks using services like RealShare to work in coordination to drive your prices up. The same Johnny Got Rocks that's writing checks to the Republican Party. The same Republican Party that's going to decimate our government, take away your services and the things that take care of you and protect you from Johnny Got Rocks. From Johnny Got Rocks fleecing your pockets. The Biden administration was working to break this up. What do you think the Trump administration is going to do? The Trump regime that is taking, doing things like letting the Saudis, which are going to decimate our oil industry, end up driving our gas prices up in a year or two. What do you think the Trump administration is going to do when they're blatantly just saying, yeah, write me a check? Folks, this is a class war. It is a class war, and we're losing. We're losing because we're being stupid. I just had an argument where I had to throw hundreds of people. You know, I have platforms all over that have hundreds of thousands of followers. I had to throw hundreds of people out the airlock because I posted a post that this woman was excoriating the Democratic Party because what had her upset was we vote the Democrats in. The oligarchs bribe people like Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema to work with the Republicans against her interests. And that's the Democrats' fault. And my mind exploded. So did my mouth. Really? That's what we're going to do? The people that are bribing the Joe Manchins and the Kirsten Sinemas, oh, they're going to be okay. The Republicans, she didn't say shit about the Republicans. It was the Democrats' fault. Really? Really? Oh, hell no. Hell no. There's one way out of this, and that's a Democratic supermajority. Period. We've already seen them change things in the courts that are going to require a Democratic supermajority to fix. But hell, what do? Every time I turn around, so I got some moron that thinks he's the smartest person on the earth that thinks it's cool to attack the Democratic Party. Gaza, anybody? Folks, this is what I want to sum up the show with. Really simple, really clearly. You are the smart ones in the room. You know damn well I am telling the truth. Lori Yates, do other countries allow politicians to be bought? Not like we do. Not like we do. Russia does. We have to start marching in lockstep, and we have to start calling these people out. The nihilists and the cynics and the people that are so willing and happy and able to attack the Democratic Party. Yeah, Democratic, if they had any messaging through who, Gina? The corporate media? Wake the hell up. The corporate media, all they want to do is stupid shit. Drama, clicks, appease their oligarch owners. How do the Democrats fix that? Or message through that? They don't. They got me. They got this dumb yahoo in the frickin' woods. We need to get smart, or it's over. Elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. You run with that, Don. You run with that. You keep running that damn statement. Do it. Drive it into the frickin' ground until the fucking oligarchs run everything, everywhere, every fucking way, because you can't say, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. And I shouldn't have done that to the Democratic Party. And I shouldn't have made that. You know, do you think it's any coincidence that shit went away after the election? Do you see the corporate media showing Gaza daily? No, it was for you, Don. For you. So that you could virtue signal about a little patch of land this fucking big and give oligarchs the single most powerful country on the face of the fucking planet. And I guarantee you they're not going to do good things about your genocide. So pretty please, Don, pretty please, cut your shit and realize, yeah, we need to be doing some fucking going along. We have a new leader. Hakeem Jeffries is the leader of the Democratic Party. I suggest to you people, and this is where I'm going to end it. Fucking follow him. Follow him. Stand behind your Democratic leaders. Put your hand in the small of their back and whisper in their ears, I got you. I got you. It's the only way forward. It's the only way forward. And your individual cause that you think is so fucking important isn't. Even if it involves tragedy and people, learn to look people you care about and decency and the right thing. Learn to look at the big picture, or we all fucking lose. That's what I got for you today. That's the show today. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll work on something for you again on Friday. And Don, don't take it personally. I love your passion. I support the Palestinian people. I do. But you got to learn, man. You don't fucking hamstring the only party. There's a reason there were no protests at any Republican events. That should have been a wake-up call to you. So yeah, when they say, oh, you're just a paid shill. Yeah, I'm paid by you. You support my show, but you damn right I carry water for the Democratic Party. I do. Even when I think they fuck up. That's who I am. I've never hidden it, and I will never lie to you about that. Because I know the Democratic Party, that's it. That's all we got. We got to be ride or die Democrats because the Republicans are going to screw us. For Johnny Got Rocks that writes them checks. It's going to be a recurring theme. I love you folks. I really do. We've gone long today. I'm sorry. I wanted to do a long roundtable. We'll make the show 2 hours. Thanks for the support, Phantom Pup. I really appreciate you. I really do. And Don, I mean it. Please don't take it personally. Don't. It's just there were a lot of people with really good hearts that went down the wrong damn path, and it cost us this election, and it's going to cost the world. Big picture, Don. Big picture. TD, here's to help you for the. I appreciate you, my man. I do. I do. Let's see the hearts and skulls, baby. Let me see my ride or die Democrats. Hearts and skulls. So anything, we've got a few minutes. We'll go another 7 minutes. We'll have a roundtable. Anything that y'all want to talk about, any questions about the supercomputing, any questions about Trump and Panama, Justin Trudeau stepping down, Le Pen. I'm going to try to find you. While y'all come up with some questions, I'm going to try to find a video for you. I'll search social media real quick. See if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it. All right, I found one. This was from last night when they found out that Jean-Marie Le Pen died. Folks, live your life in a way that people don't celebrate your death. Sorry about the mute. That happened all over France. All over France. And there'll be more than that when Trump dies. I promise you. Truth Hurts Wilkie. This is a good one for the round table. When did draining the swamp mean hiring billionaires to give themselves massive tax cuts? Folks, people like me who have been Democrats, OG Democrats going way back, have been telling people forever, none of what these Republicans say is the truth. They don't care about deficits. They don't. They don't care about deficits. They never have, not when a Republican's in charge. They don't. The only time they talk about a deficit is when they want to cut some, because they don't believe in our social safety net. They don't believe in what the rest of the world has proven to be true. Look at our friends in Europe and their happiness indexes. How happy their people are. We're the only people that don't have national health care. I mean, come on. Come on. The only first world country with no national health care system. No, Marine Le Pen is a woman. I get what you're saying there, and I understand the confusion, but no, Jean-Marie Le Pen was her father, Marine Le Pen's father. He was the founder. He's the one that Marine Le Pen didn't build shit. She didn't. She's just a right-wing bigot, just like her dad. And her dad built the movement and then got old and could not carry on. Then Marine Le Pen took over. But this was the dad died, and France was celebrating. Lori Yates, did everyone see Mr. Fisher refuse? Yes. Good one. Glad you brought it up. Yeah, that was that. Look, I'll find that for you too. Give me just a second. This was gross. This is who these people are. So they were swearing in the new Congress, and Deb Fisher, Republican Deb Fisher, was getting sworn in. Kamala Harris is, she's the vice president. She's the person that's swearing in the new Congress. Watch this. This is Deb Fisher's husband there. Look at this miserable son of a bitch in the glasses.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, sure.
Piece of shit wouldn't shake Kamala Harris's hand. And they tell me that I'm too harsh on Republicans. My ass. Did everyone see Mr. Fisher refuse to shake Vice President Harris's hand? Yeah, we saw it. That's what I said, Sally. That's what I said. Isn't that sick? And everybody tells me I'm too harsh on Republicans. We got a bigoted old white man problem in this country. I took a lot of hell for this too. I'm finish this. We got 1 minute left. I'm gonna finish this. I took a lot of hell from this because I'm Gen X. I am, and Gen X likes to talk shit. And we need to stop because half of us ended up being freaking bigoted, frail, weak ass people, just like our boomer parents were. And no, I'm not attacking boomers when I say that. A lot of great boomers out there, a lot of cool hippies out there, a lot of people on the left that are boomers, but yeah, you know what the boomer generation was. We Gen X swore we weren't going to be that. We were going to be the ones that defeated racism. We were going to be the ones, and we didn't. We didn't. Half of us are flaky, weak, bigoted, like that piece of shit you just saw right there. We Gen X need to stop talking shit. We do. We need to start looking at these younger generations and trying to help them get it done, because they'll be the ones to get it done. We didn't get it done. I love you, folks. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.